I deem it. Uh, hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yes. I deem it an immense pleasure and a unique privilege to address the students of the Department of History of Karnataka University on the occasion of the 133rd May Day, which is a day of international significance. The topic of my address is the history of May Day and its present relevance. Before I deliberate on the topic of the day, as a preface, I desire to share with my student friends a great adage of poet laureate Dr. D.R. Bendre, the Jnanpith awardee who hails from the historic soil of Dharwad on history, which would throw new light on the importance of history. ಮಹಾಕವಿ ದರಾ ಬೇಂದ್ರೆಯವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದರು, ಇತಿಹಾಸ ಅರಿಯದವ ಶುದ್ಧ ನಿರ್ಬುದ್ಧ ಎಂದು. Rendered in English.
First you connect. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello, should I begin from the beginning?
No, sir. We are going to. We will just welcome and introduce you, sir.
Okay, start it and then I will start my address.
Yes,
okay.
Very beautiful morning to everyone. So today on May Day, which is 1st May 2022, we the history enthusiasts are conducting online lecture series on Labor Day. So our first session is being conducted on the topic the history of May Day and present relevance, and our today's resource person is Dr. Shyam Sharma sir. So he is founder, president, Karnataka State Government Daily Wage Employees Federation, Hubballi. It's a privilege to have you on the History Enthusiasts platform, sir. We warmly welcome you, sir. And thank you so much for accepting our invitation. And I also welcome our audience for this Labor Day lecture series. Please join us, support us throughout this lecture series. So now I request Ms. Manali Momaya to introduce our today's resource person.
Thank you very much, Nidhi, for the warm welcome. It is really an honor to be introducing such a multifaceted personality as Dr. K S Sharma sir. Dr. Shyam Sharma sir was born on 30th September 1934 to Ember Bhashyachar and Sampattamma. He completed his SSLC from Corporation High School, Bangalore, and his BSc from National College, Basavanagudi, Bangalore. He did his LLB from Karnataka University, Dharwad, his MA in Political Science and Sociology from Karnataka University, Dharwad, and his MA in English Literature from Utkal University, Bhubaneswar. He also completed his LLM from Karnataka University, Dharwad, and he was awarded his PhD on the subject State in India, the Marxist Perspective, from Karnataka University, Dharwad, under the guidance of Dr. K. Raghavendra Rao. He also finished his diploma in public administration from Karnataka University, Dharwad. He has served as a lecturer in English, political science, law, and also as professor of law and principal at JSS Sakri College, Sakri Law College, Hubballi, and he retired as the principal and director of JSS Institute of Management Studies in 1993. Sir is also the founder president of Karnataka State Government Daily Wage Employee Federation, Hubballi, Indian Revolutionary Trade Unions Confederation, and various other trade unions. Sir is also the president of People's Council for Education, Ahmedabad, vice president of Indian Academy of Social Sciences, Ahmedabad, president of the Conference of 3rd Kannada Sahitya Sammelan organized by Hubballi Taluk Unit at Hubballi in 2014. Sir has published many books, including Marxvada, Leninvada ಮತ್ತು ಗಾಂಧಿವಾದ, ಮಹಿಳಾ ವಿಮೋಚನೆ, ಸಮಾಜವಾದಿ ಮಹಿಳೆ, ಕ್ರಾಂತಿಯೋ ಪ್ರತಿಕ್ರಾಂತಿಯೋ, ಹೋ ಚಿ ಮಿನ್, ನಾಯಿ ಕೊಡೆಗಳು, ಚಿಂತನ ಮಂಥನ, and so on. He has also written poems and dramas, including a poem collection called Kattalinda Belakinedege, Yechara, Makkala Rajya, which is a drama, Horata, which is also a drama, Misfortune, it's a Kannada drama, Adarshamai, Beelutiruva Bharata. These are all plays. In English, he has also written Trade Unionism, Philosophy and Practice, Spring Fire, Four Strings, which is a translation of Dr. Dara Bendre's poetry into English, Guru Govind Singh, which is a translation in collaboration with poet Dara Bendre and Dr. Vaman Bendre, A New Agenda for Indian Revolution, in collaboration with Dr. K. Raghavendra Rao, Profile of a Daily Wage Worker, which he has written in collaboration with Dr. K. Raghavendra Rao. Over a decade, he was a correspondent of Samyukta Karnataka, Dharwad. He also edited Madhavi, a Kannada monthly digest. He was also the editor of Manava Samachara, a bilingual monthly, and a columnist for Karnataka Malla, a Kannada newspaper from Mumbai. He was honorary editor of India Insight and English Weekly. He has received several awards, including Soviet Land Nehru Award for Literature in 1973, Central Government Award for Literature, Chalukya Award, Vishweshwaraya Navaratna Award, Gold Medal in from Indian Social Science Congress, Kannada Sahitya Parishad's Award Kannada Shri and Karnataka Shri, Gold Medal from the Department of Kannada of Mumbai University, and Karnataka Ratna. Sir has founded many institutions, including Dr. K S Sharma Industrial Training Center, Dr. K S Sharma Institute of Naturopathy and Yogic Studies, Yogic Sciences, Dr. K S Sharma College of Computer Applications, and so on. Also, Dr. Dara Bendre Research Institute, Dr. Dara Bendre Sangeet Academy, Karl Marx Memorial Revolutionary Center, all of them at Vishwa Sharma Chetana, Gokul Road, Hubli. Sir is responsible for the regularization of more than 1.5 lakh unorganized government daily wage workers as permanent employees in Government of Karnataka. It is an unparalleled record in trade union history. Sir, it is really a great honor, and we are ecstatic to have you on our page today with us, and we are really sure that our audience will benefit from your expertise on this topic. I now request sir to begin the lecture.
For your introduction. I deem it an immense pleasure and an unique privilege I deem it an immense pleasure and an unique privilege to address the students of the Department of History of Karnataka University on the occasion of the 133rd May Day, which is a day of international significance. The topic of my address today is History of May Day and its present relevance. Before I deliberate on the topic of the May Day, as a preface, I desire to share with my student friends a great adage of poet laureate Dr. D.R. Bendre, the Gnanpith awardee, who hails from this historic soil of Dharwad, on history, which would throw new light on the importance of history. ಮಹಾಕವಿ ದರಾ ಬೇಂದ್ರೆಯವರು ಹೇಳಿದ್ದರು, ಇತಿಹಾಸ ಅರಿಯದವ ಶುದ್ಧ ನಿರ್ಬುದ್ಧ ಎಂದು. Rendered in English, it means one who does not know history is a pure idiot. I repeat, one who does not know history is a pure idiot. I am sure after listening to the adage of poet Bendre, you would pat yourself on your backs for choosing history as your faculty of study. Coming to the subject of my address this morning, I desire to tell you the gigantic task I have ahead of me. That is, take you on a long journey with me of more than 2,200 years in a trip lasting just 60 minutes. That is the gigantic task I have now to perform this morning. The history of the historic May Day begins with the period of rising capitalism in the United States of America way back in 1800, which marks the beginning of the inhuman, cruel exploitation of labor. The ruthless capitalists made the workers to work for 14, 16, 18, and even 20 hours a day in order to earn their meager livelihood. This was the common scenario all over the United States during this period. In 1806, the Philadelphia, a conspiracy trial was foisted against the leaders of the workers who had launched a strike, and during this trial it was revealed that those workers were employed as long as 19 and 20 hours a day. It's in this background that during 1820 to 1840, a series of strikes of the working people in the United States demanding a shorter working day began. In Philadelphia, the strike of the building workers that took place in 1827 placed the demand for a 10-hour day. Subsequently, the 8-hour day came to the forefront. Thus, from a 20 long working day through sunrise to sunset work day to demand for 8-hour work day, which took the shape in and around 1886, when the fourth convention of the American Federation unanimously resolved to observe May 1st, 1886 as a day to demand 8-hour working day throughout United States of America. It is in this context that 8-hour leagues came to be constituted throughout United States of America. Historic May 1st, 1886 and the inexorable course of events of that particular day and the days that follow. May 1, 1886 nearly 80,000 had worked for the factories, had walked out of the factories to observe May 1st as the 8-hour demand day. Irrespective of nationality, religion, color, and language, workers took out a parade, and this was indeed a splendid demonstration of the international brotherhood of the toiling people. This demonstration was a great success. Next day, May 2nd, was a Sunday and hence was a holiday. On May 3rd, 1886, the strike was continued in Chicago. On this day, many who had not joined the strike. In Chicago, at the Haymarket Square, where all these people assembled, there was a lockout in the factory, and the management had held up 3,000 blacklegs within the factory premises and locked out the others, thousands of workers. When those thousands who kept out demonstrated that those locked in should also be sent out, the management of the factory directed the police force that was waiting outside to charge and drive out those workers who were outside the police station. The proof depended first against the workers when 6 workers got shot dead and died on the spot, and many were injured. This was a calculated, brutal attack of the management, actively in collusion with the police, with the sole intention of breaking the solidarity of the workers. Leaders of the American Federation of Labor immediately met and decided to observe as a protest against the police brutality on May 4th, 1886 at the Haymarket Square in Chicago. What happened at the protest meeting held on 4th May 1886 at Haymarket Square in Chicago turned out to be a mystery and has gone into international history as a great game of conspiracy hatched by the police and the capitalists to wreck the peaceful meeting by a conspirator throwing a bomb into the midst of the meeting, which was used as a pretense by the police, who were in large numbers, to open fire against the workers who were participating peacefully. The workers who were in panic tried to run away, but in the scuffle, not only the workers, but also the police and others were also killed and injured. It was reported that 7 or 8 of the workers were killed and 30 to 40 wounded. Police were spared in this scuffle. Even the police were not spared in this scuffle. 1 policeman was killed and at least 7 fatally wounded who died later. In all, 67 policemen were injured in this skirmish. In this sordid episode, 7 leaders were arrested. Paradoxically, of these 7 arrested, only Two were participating in the meeting. Parsons, who had participated in the meeting, along with his wife and two children, had gone underground to avoid arrest. Mockery of a trial. On June 21, 1886, the legal proceedings started before Judge Joseph E. Gary. There was also a panel of jurymen in this trial, but the entire trial was a great mockery. To quote a few aspects, one amongst the jurymen was the judge has passed death sentence against the accused. New York Times reported the event as follows. Quote, Judge Gary's face was worked convulsively, and when he reached the word hanged, he faltered and could with great difficulty utter till you're dead. The last words were scarcely audible. When these cases were referred to the Supreme Court, the United States Supreme Court refused to examine the cases. Execution was set on November 11, 1887. What is to be noted is that the judgment to hang the labor leaders drew the attention of important global leaders throughout the world and great scholars and great personages. They all wrote letters to the President of the United States of America to pardon these workers. To cite an example from England, George Bernard Shaw, the renowned literature, and William Morris, another renowned literature, worked hard to save these labor leaders, but in vain. World leaders had called these punishments judicial murder. Among the 7 who were sentenced to death, punishment, only 4 were hanged till death. In case of 2 of the convicted, the governor had commuted death sentence to life imprisonment. One of them had been sentenced to 15 years of imprisonment. The messages given by these leaders to the world before they were hanged are immortal messages. Parsons, one of the leaders who was hanged, wrote to his wife as follows: I am gone. but take up the great cause of socialism, where I am compelled to lay down. Another leader, Spice, who was hanged, stated as follows: there will come a time when our silence will be more powerful than the voice, for strangled today. What a great message. A last word on these ghastly events. True, the brave leaders of the workers had faced the gallows fearlessly, dauntlessly, and invincibly. But the American state had indeed murdered four brave souls of the toiling masses. The historical perspective is that the Free Republic of America killed four men for their opinions. The working class of all the nations of the world should offer their red salute to those brave leaders of the working class and remember with gratitude all those who had laid down their lives in the Chicago Haymarket Square on the May 4th, 1886, and be grateful to them for giving the invaluable gift of 8-day work to the workers of the world. Now let me pass on to explain to you Marx, Engels, and Lenin on May Day. This is again a very important aspect that we have to know on this historic May Day. It is most unfortunate that Karl Marx breathed his last on March 14, 1883, and so was not alive when the American working class launched the historic May Day on May 1st, 1886. But from the very beginning of the struggle for 8 hours working day, Karl Marx had supported this great movement. Marx said as follows, quote, "Working man of all countries unite. You have nothing this was he gave to the Communist Manifesto of 1848. Now coming to the International May Day being observed from May 1st, 1890. On the very first day of the International May Day on May 1st, 1890, Engels, one of the co-authors of Karl Marx, wrote as under, and today's spectacle will open the eyes of the capitalists and the landlords of all the countries to the fact that today the working men of all the countries are united indeed. Regarding International May Day, which is being observed from May 1, 1890, the Zurich Congress of the International in 1893, in Engels' presence, resolved unanimously in the following terms: The resolution read as follows, quote, the demonstration on May 1st for the 8-hour day must save at the same time as the demonstration of the determined will of the working class to destroy class distinctions through social engineering and thus enter the road, the only road leading to peace for all peoples, leading to international peace. Unquote. The citations of Marx and Engels regarding 8-hour working day and the International May Day being observed from May 1st, 1890 need to be given an explanatory note, that is, the goal of the working class of the world shall be not just achieving 8-hour working day. This is a limited goal, but the ultimate goal of the working class of the world shall be the destruction of the capitalist system, which is exploitative in character and where unjust system. And so the working class of all the nations of the world shall unite to demolish the capitalist system and to build a new society which is bereft of classes, bereft of exploitation, and bereft of inequality and injustice. This is the new socialist society, which ultimately is a communist society, which shall be the ultimate goal of the observance of the International May Day. Having explained the views of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels on the May Day, let me examine the views of Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, the founder of Soviet Russia, the first socialist state in the world. Lenin in 1904 wrote a leaflet on May Day, and a few extracts from the leaflet are extracted here. Lenin wrote, comrade workers, May Day is coming, the day when workers of all lands celebrate the awakening to class conscious life, their solidarity in the struggle against the coercion and oppression of man by man, the struggle to free the toiling millions from hunger, poverty, and humiliation. Two worlds stand facing each other in this great struggle, the world of capital and the world of labor. The world of exploitation and slavery, and the world of brotherhood and freedom. Lenin further said, quote, the great struggle of labor
Nidhi, can you hear, sir?
No, sir's video is stuck and his voice is also not audible now.
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah.
with all this.
Sir? Yes, the video was stuck, sir. Please continue. Unmute, sir. Unmute.
Huh? Hello?
Yes, sir. Please
Hello?
continue. Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. Right. The above dictum of the great revolutionary Lenin shows the real light of the working class. The guidelines set by founders of Marxism, Leninism, that is, Marx, Engels,
Manali, you are on mute.
Okay, I think by mistake, sir pressed on some button. I think he went offline. He will join back.
Yeah. Sir has joined.
Yes.
hello,
Yes, sir. Please
hello,
continue, sir. Yes, sir. Please continue.
okay, uh, right. The above dictum of the great revolutionary Lenin shows the real light to the working class. The guidelines set by the founders of Marxism, Leninism, that is, Marx, Engels, and Lenin, shall have to be adopted by the working class. What is important to be remembered is that working class shall not get satisfied with just an 8-hour day, but should consolidate all its forces under the great path of workers of the world, unite, unite. Workers of the world, unite, unite, and march together ahead to demolish capitalism, which is the source of all evil, and proceed to establish a scientific socialist society based on Marxism, Leninism. With this analysis, let me proceed to analyze the second part of my address. In the second part of my topic deals with the present relevance of May Day. I shall subdivide my address in this part into 4 subparts. These are A. Indian working class and the May Day, the historical part. Second part, the current developments in India and the relevance of May Day. Then third, world conquering march of the proletariat. And the last, the current international developments and role of May Day. Let me briefly present these 4 parts. Part A, Indian working class and the May Day, the historical part. The contributions of the Indian working class is glorious heritage of May Day all over the world cannot be ignored. Hence, the history of May Day in India needs a look. The pioneering act of the working class of Bengal, in particular, is a matter of pride for the whole of India even today. It is gratifying to note that the first strike of the industrial workers in India took place in the month of May 1862 on the very demand of 8-hour day. The strike involved 1,200 railway workers of Howrah station of Bengal. This event undoubtedly is very significant in the international working class movement. It may be recalled that the May Day strike of American working class was on May 1st, 1886. Even before that, in 1862, the railway workers of Howrah station in Bengal created history by striking work on the very day the demand for the 8-hour day. It's also to be noted that during the freedom struggle against British imperialism in 1908, when Bal Gangadhar Tilak, the doyen of national struggle in India, was arrested, the textile workers of Bombay burst into a protest movement and started a massive strike which lasted for 5 days. They also fought armed battles against the police and the military in the streets of Bombay. In fact, this battle, Ganga Pad Govind, a valiant son of the working class, became a martyr. This was indeed the first political upsurge in India by the Indian working class. This attracted the attention of Lenin, the revolutionary leader of Russia, who founded Soviet Russia, who remarked, "In India too, the proletariat has already developed conscious political mass struggles." Another important event is that even long before May Day came to be observed in India, many Indians were attending May Day rallies in England. In 1909, one Saklat Tuda participated in the May Day rally in Hyde Park of London. In 1910, Bipin Chandra Pal, along with his son, attended the May Day rally at Hyde Park in London. In Red Square, Moscow in 1920, another Indian, Roy, had the rare privilege of addressing the May Day rally along with Lenin from the same platform. Another important event took place in the sea beach of Madras on May 1st, 1923, when Singaravelu Chettiar, a labor leader, presided over the May Day meeting. On the same day, it is heartening to note that Chettiar took the red sari of his daughter and made the red flag and hoisted it on his house. A thrilling moment of history. On May 1st, 1925, 10,000 workers, men and women from Asia and India had participated in a rally at Hyde Park in London. To participate in the May Day rally and carried a banner with the inscription, "Liberate India or come down to our rank." These events indicate to us as to how the Indian working class also had played a great role in the emergence of the 8-day work and the May Day. Now, I come to the second part of the Indian developments with reference to the relevance of May Day. Let me make it very briefly. That is, I would like to bring to the notice of the student community who have been ordained students of history that the present day India and what has happened after independence in India on 15th of August 1947 are to be analyzed in the context of the May Day. Let me make it very briefly. We have been observing in this country Amrita Mahotsava, Swatantriyada Amrita Mahotsava, that is 75 years of Indian independence. We have crossed more than 70 years of the great Constitution of India. Now, in the last 75 years, what has happened in this country with reference to the toiling masses, the suffering hunger stricken masses of the people, the poverty stricken masses of this country, and what is it that the ruling classes in India have done about them? It is very important to analyze this 75 years, because that itself would be a very big chapter in the analysis of the history of India post-independent. But I would make it very sharp and short. One of the very important things I would like to say on this occasion is the Indian masses, the Indian people, after India attained the so-called independence. I use the term so-called. That is because on 15th August 1947, what India got was not real independence. It was only a transfer of power from the British imperialists who were ruling India to the Indian ruling classes, the capitalists and the landlords. This cannot be forgotten. If you understand even the making of the Constitution of India, you will be amazed to learn that though the preamble of the Constitution starts with the words, "We, the people of India, given to ourselves this Constitution," the tragic part of it is that the Constitution makers, that is, who constituted the Constituent Assembly, were never elected to the Constituent Assembly through adult franchise. It was a limited franchise. The voters were landlords, property holders, and the literate, and also representation was on communal lines. Very unfortunate. And the makers of the Constitution actually were constituted into the Constituent Assembly through a law passed by the British Parliament. That is what makes the Constituent Assembly. It was actually floated even before India got independence. And how can you say, we the people of India, given to ourselves this constitution? And on 26th of January 1950, when it was promulgated, the constitution was promulgated, we had the following declarations as the goals of the Indian Republic. They were democratic, sovereign, republic. But to these three words were added two more words during the emergency by Mrs. Gandhi, who was then the Prime Minister of India, through the 42nd Amendment. Those words were socialist and secular. Analyze what has happened after 1950 till today, when we are observing in a glorious way the 75th anniversary of India's independence. Is there socialism in this country? Is there secularism in this country? Is India a sovereign democratic republic? All these are a mockery. Let me tell you very sharply that Karl Marx, the founder of socialist, scientific socialism, had made a great declaration: religion is the opium of the people. Religion is the opium of the people. Yes, by feeding religion, it was feeding opium, and people were all kept unconscious. They would not know what was happening around them in the country. To this, religion as an opium of the people, I take the liberty to add three more opiums: the opium of elections, the opium of democracy, and the opium of the constitution. These are three more opiums that the people of India have been fed with in the last more than 70 years, 7 decades, and all are unconscious about what is actually happening around them. In the name of elections, have you analyzed the results of the elections? Let us take the recent elections that took place for the 5 states in India. Will you believe me when I tell you the analysis of these results of these 5 states? Out of the 600 and odd legislators who are elected to the 5 states, 87% of them were crorepati's. And remember that in a state like Goa, out of all the persons who are elected to the Goa assembly, except one, all were crorepati's. Yes, in Punjab, for the first time, AAP had made history by establishing the AAP government. Will you believe me? The cabinet of AAP, which was constituted by the chief minister man, had in its cabinet more than 50% of the ministers in the cabinet had criminal antecedents. And take the overall picture, more than 50% of those who were elected had criminal antecedents. And what kind of criminal antecedents? Attempt to murder, murder charges, kidnapping to murder charges, and such like. So we find these were the legislators who were elected. Analyze the Indian Parliament, the composition of the Indian Parliament. Even that you find is a composition of crorepati's, persons with criminal antecedents, and those who came from heritage, that is, hereditary legislators and parliamentarians. More than 25% are from heredity. Who are the rulers then? It is the crorepati's on the one hand. It is those with criminal antecedents on the other. And thirdly, those who come from heredity. In the name of parliamentary democracy, the type of democracy we have in this country is not real democracy. It is a rule by the crorepati's, for the crorepati's, and of the crorepati's. There is no real democracy in this country. In the last 2 years, let me give a very brief account of what happened in the last 2 years. That is the 6th and the 7th year rule of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who has been heading the NDA government as a leader of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Remember, international studies have been carried out, and the international studies have established that India is an electoral autocracy. That is the result of the studies of Indian democracy. What do you mean by electoral autocracy? People come to power through elections, and when they come to power through elections, they turn out to be autocrats. That is, it is dictatorship that prevails. They are reminded of the great saying of Karl Marx in the Communist Manifesto, who said, bourgeois democracy is a bourgeois dictatorship. Indeed, we are being in the mask of democracy under a dictatorial rule. Let us not forget this. And added to this is fascism. Communal hatred is ruling, and there is no freedom of press, freedom of expression. Remember, thousands have been put behind bars under the charge of sedition, under the UAPA, that is Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, which does not make a provision for bail to those who are arrested under this particular act. That is the type of India in which we are now living. And remember, recently there has been a great movement of the farmers. 1 year the farmers struggled, agitated, and ultimately the 4 farm laws which were enacted by the Narendra Modi government were declared to be withdrawn because the elections to the 5 states were coming. But remember, there are 4 labor codes which are ready to be introduced in this country, and these labor codes are most anti-labor. They are pro-capital, pro-multinational, and anti-labor. They are to help capitalists enrich themselves. A very important analysis of COVID in the last 2 years has revealed that it is the billionaires of this country who have doubled their wealth. I just quote the instance of one of these billionaires, Gautam Adani, whose riches has been recently declared, and he becomes the 5th richest billionaire of the world. He occupies the 5th place among the world billionaires. And 100 billionaires of this country have doubled their wealth. While on the other hand, unemployment has grown, poverty has increased, people have been dying out of hunger. This is the India in which we live. It is an India for the rich. It is an India of the rich and by the rich. It is an India of people with criminal antecedents who rule us. It is India which is being ruled by the hereditary leaders of the political parties. What is the remedy for such a sorry state of affairs? Remember, India has occupied the 140th place amongst 160 nations of the world in the hunger index. India has gone down in the hunger index. The hungry of the world. Remember, of the hungry of the world, 50% of them are Indians. Is it a matter to be proud of? We can't be proud of such a matter. That is the state of India in which we are. It is in this background that the relevance of May Day comes. May Day, on the one hand, is a day which celebrates the 8-hour day, a victory for the 8-hour day. But one can't end there. Karl Marx, Friedrich Engels, Lenin, Mao, and all these leaders of the socialist system gave a call for ending the capitalist system. Remember, this is not only an Indian phenomenon, it is an international phenomenon. In the last 2 years, when COVID has been there, literally invading the whole world, we find that paradoxically, the billionaires have enriched themselves during this COVID period, and the poor have been more impoverished, the unemployment has increased, many have been thrown on the streets without employment, and the hungry have increased in number. The Honorable Supreme Court of India gave a call to the central government to see that centers, community centers were opened in all states, to see that the hungry are fed with food. Even that program has not materialized in spite of the directions given by the Supreme Court. That is the state of affairs in which we are living. The world is in a same state. We have been seeing Russia invade Ukraine. And for what fault of Ukraine? Ukraine was a part of the Socialist Republic of Soviet Russia. And now they have all become independent states. And Soviet Russia invades Ukraine. And merciless killing. This may be a stepping stone for the Third World War. Let us not be complacent about it. So in the entire world, we find inequality, injustice, exploitation of the working people, and misery, hunger, unemployment prevailing. What is the only solution to this problem? Remember International May Day, which started its observance on May 1, 1890, and we are observing the 133rd day of May Day. What is the message for the working class? Working class of the world, unite, unite. Workers have nothing to lose in their battle against exploitation and capitalism. They have only their chains to lose and a world to win when they win the battles for equality and equanimity. That is the only relief for the people of the world. Peace can prevail only when equality prevails. Humanism can prevail only when there is no exploitation. And it is such a new society that we have to build. And it's only in a socialist society where socialism prevails and which is destined to move into a communist society. The difference between the two being, in socialism, work according to your capacity and get according to your needs. While in a communist society, work according to your capacities and get according to your needs. That is the goal. And a real humanistic society can emerge only when socialist society prevails and inhuman capitalist society is destroyed and demolished. With the last word, I would like to conclude my address on the history of May Day and its present relevance. And the last word is, remember, working class of the world, unite, unite. Workers have nothing to lose in their battles except their chains. And if they win the whole world. And I have coined a new slogan for the working class. ದುಡಿಯುವ ಕೈಗಳೇ ಆಳುವ ಕೈಗಳಾಗಲೇಬೇಕು. Working hands shall be the ruling hands. And I conclude my address with 4 lines from the great poet laureate D.R. Bendre. He said, ದುಡಿಯುವ ಬಡವರು ನಾಡಿನ ಒಡೆಯರು, ದುಡಿಯದ ಒಡೆಯರು ಕಾಣದ ಹಾದಿಯ ಹಿಡಿವರು. What a great contribution Bendre has given to this word. He has said, ದುಡಿಯುವ ಬಡವರು ನಾಡಿನ ಒಡೆಯರು. The working poor shall be the rulers of the nation and the world. And those who only invest and don't work, they will find a place nowhere. That is the message of poet laureate Bendre. And it is only in a socialist society that equality, justice, and justness would prevail. Let the 133rd May Day give this message to the working class of the world. You have a historic duty to perform. The working class of the world have a historic duty to perform. And that duty is to demolish the unjust, unequal capitalist system and to establish in its place equal, just, and human socialist system. That is the message of 133rd May Day, which we are observing today. I wish revolutionary greetings to the proletariats of the world and wish this great goal of May Day will be reached to get rid of poverty, impoverishment, unemployment, unjustness in this world of misery. Let us have a human society where equality prevails. My revolutionary greetings on the 133rd May Day. thank you for giving me this opportunity to address you on a historic occasion of this kind. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. It was really a very intriguing and thought-provoking lecture. And as you said, this is a very historic day. And even in the history of the history enthusiasts, this is a very historic lecture, definitely. And the revolutionary words that you have spoken, they have also inculcated a sense of revolution in us. Definitely, what you said is true. We have to work towards a equanimous society, and we have to struggle to bring back the equality and equanimity that we are losing. So definitely that message has reached all our audience. Yes, there is. If anybody has any questions from the audience, kindly post it in the comment section. We will get back to you. Professor S.K. Aruni sir has greeted us. Professor Usha Devi madam has also conveyed her congratulations for organizing a relevant program. Sir, I have a question.
Yes.
Recently, I spoke about a book of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar called Buddha or Karl Marx. So in that he says that the Marxists have a lot to learn from Buddha, because in Marxism, violence is considered as inevitable, and in order to bring peace in society, violence has to be used as a weapon. But Buddha says that violence should be the last resort, and we can bring equanimity in the society without violence, and we can bring equality, liberty, and fraternity by changing the minds of people. So, what are your views on that?
I have a very simple answer to this complex question. You know what is a state? The state is the ruling part. Does the state have a military? Does the state have police? Does the state have courts? Does the state have prisons? It has, isn't it?
Yes.
How do the capitalist landlords rule the country and the world? It is making use of force. Remember, that is called as state violence. When, as I told you, in 1886, when the workers were protesting the police brutality in Haymarket Square in Chicago, it was a conspiracy by throwing a bomb into the masses that the police opened fire against the peacefully agitating workers. Here is a state violence, and state violence is used to preserve an unjust, unequal, and inhuman society. But when the working class, which is actually struggling for justice, makes use of weapons, you call it violence. Is it violence? I tell you, Marx never talked of violence. Marx said, as you very rightly said, Buddha also kept violence as a last resort. Will you believe me when I tell you, even Gandhi said, if violence becomes inevitable, you have to use it when it is to fight injustice. Here the question is, when you are tolerating state violence, why do you condemn the violence of the toiling masses? They don't want war. They don't want violence. But when they peacefully struggle, what is it that is actually used against them? It is the lathis, it is the boots, and it is the shots of the state forces. They are brutally killed in the protest. Is this justice?
No, sir.
Violence and non-violence are only words which have no meaning. Always remember, struggles have to be peaceful. But will the ruling classes, which is hardly a small percentage of the working people, what is the percentage of the ruling classes amongst the total population of the country and the world? It is such a small number. It is that small number which rules the large sections of the working people, the toiling people, and using military, using police, using courts, using police, prisons as their weapons. This is the point to be understood very carefully. Dr. Ambedkar has very great contributions. You must know one thing. This is least known as having been said by Dr. Ambedkar. Do you know what he said in the Rajya Sabha? It is recorded in the archives of the Rajya Sabha. Kajju, who was the Home Minister, when a debate on governor's powers was going on in the Rajya Sabha, pointed to Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar and said, "You are the maker of the constitution. You answer this question." Do you know what was the reply of Dr. Ambedkar? He said, "You call me the maker of the constitution. I was only a hack. H-A-C-K. That is the word he uses. Hack means a hired writer. He said, I was only a hack. I was made to write what I was unwilling to write. And this constitution does not suit anybody. If I have the opportunity, I will be the first to tear it." Remember, this is what Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar said in the Rajya Sabha. It is on record. And do you know another thing? He had presented a draft constitution to the Constituent Assembly as president of the All India Scheduled Caste Federation. That document has been called as the States and Minorities. You'll be amazed to learn that not a word of this document, States and Minorities, is found in the Indian Constitution. Do you know what Dr. Ambedkar said on 26th November 1949 when he was introducing the draft constitution to the Constituent Assembly? He said, we will choose parliamentary democracy. But remember, when we choose parliamentary democracy, it is the few who will rule and the many who will be ruled. And it is actually those who are hereditary rulers ruling the hereditary ruled. This is the expression of Dr. Baba Saheb Ambedkar. Hereditary ruling classes will rule the hereditary ruled classes. Is it not true even to this day? The hereditary ruling classes that rule the hereditary ruled classes. That is the misfortune. And non-violence are mere words. But it is situations that demand, and no working class desires to use violence. No working class. I tell you, I have been in worker struggles for over 60 years, mind you. I'm 88 years now, and I have been in the field of struggles for more than 60 years. You know, we have always taken care to see that the agitations are peaceful. Always. But you must remember, it is the provocator is the police who provoke the peacefully demonstrating workers to run amok. And they used the lathis, the tear gas, the revolvers, and the guns to shout down the working class, to pin down the working class. So, one thing I tell you, you're all students of history. Remember that at no time anybody wants war, but see what is happening in Ukraine. What is happening in Ukraine? What did America do for long years? It was only trying to see that wars were fought on other sides. It never fought a war on its soil. They were only financing. Remember, America is ruled not by the president but by the weapon manufacturers of America. They are the people who control political power. Even today, you find they are supplying weapons to people who want peace. And actually, it is weapons that are most dangerous. And I tell you, with nuclear weapons that have come into being, the world is facing a great hazard. It is in jeopardy. We have to see that peace is installed, peace is maintained, peace is perpetuated. How can you do it? It's only with a society of equality where peace prevails. That is the only solution for the problems of the world. I hope I have answered your question.
Yes, sir. Very satisfactorily you have answered, sir. That was the doubt which I had, and finally it has been cleared. Uh, there
Good.
are no more questions as of now, sir. If there are any questions later on, we will send it to you, definitely.
Okay.
But we have come to the end of this very interesting and very enlightening lecture today. So I request Ms. Nidhi Katti to propose a vote of thanks.
uh, yeah. So on May Day, which is 1st May 2022, we had such a great lecture from Dr. K S Sharma sir. It was really very wonderful lecture, sir, and very knowledgeable. Thank you so much, sir, for enlightening us and for making us understand uh, that what being youths we should do to establish a equal society for our generation and for our next generation. Thank you so much, sir, for accepting our invitation and for giving this beautiful lecture on the history enthusiasts group. Thank you so much, sir. And I also
Don't
thank
mention
all.
it all.
Thank you, sir. And I also
Don't.
thank all the audience who joined us throughout this lecture. Thank you so much for your support. Please continue your support. And I also thank co-founder of the History Enthusiast and co-host Miss Manali Momaya for being a wonderful co-host. Thank you so much. And it was her who actually suggested Dr. K. Sharma sir's name for Labor Day's lecture. And I'm so grateful that she suggested his name and she invited him because because of his lecture, I got so much knowledge and uh, got a responsibility, one more, towards society. Thank you so much.
Thank you to Nidhi for being such a wonderful co-host. I would like to mention two more names here. First of all, I would like to thank Ravindra sir from K S Sharma sir's side. He assisted technically and he was regularly corresponding with us. So he is very important. He has played a very important role in the success of this lecture. So thank you, Ravindra sir. And I also thank Professor Shiladhar Mugli sir because actually it was he who suggested me sir's name and from him I got the idea of inviting sir. So thank you all once again, and we are signing off now. In the afternoon, we have another lecture at 3 p.m. We request all the viewers to join back at 3 p.m. Thank you very much.
Don't mention troll. Namaste.
Namaste.
Namaste, sir.